Monday, Tuesday.
Hey guys, how's it going? Time for another album review, and this one I'm pretty excited about. This is probably one of my favorite albums of all time, probably one of my favorite bands of all time, The Who. It's called The Who Sell Out. It was the third studio album by The Who. It was released December 15th, 1967. It was a concept album. It was very different from the two albums before it, My Generation and A Quick One. It was a concept album, like I said, and the songs were connected in a certain way by certain things, and I'll get into that. It was full of fake commercials. It was supposed to be like a pirate radio station. Now, in England at the time, the BBC Radio didn't play a whole lot of modern music, rock and roll, stuff like that. And the kids in England had to turn to pirate radio stations, most notably Radio Luxembourg, which was a big pirate station at the time. They played lots of rock and roll music that these kids wanted to hear. It really influenced them forming bands like The Who, to, get together and make music. And that's really what this album's supposed to be. It's a bunch of songs with a bunch of ads. Some of the songs are actually ads too, which is kind of cool. And at this time, the Marine Broadcasting Offenses... Sorry, I gotta read what it's called. The Marine Broadcasting Offenses Act is when it went into effect in August of that year, while they were recording the album, but before it was released. And it outlawed pirate radio stations. People couldn't listen to pirate radio stations anymore. And it kind of boosted the album's effect as like a tribute to pirate radio, which, helped the legendary status of this album, which I think is legendary just based on the music itself. It was originally to be called, the original title was going to be called Who's Lily, because the single at the time, the latest single they had released, Pictures of Lily, had come out, and they're going to do an album called Who's Lily, but they obviously abandoned that. The cover features photographs of each band member, and doing some weird things, kind of advertisement things. Pete, going along with the theme of the album, the front cover has Pete Townsend. He's applying Odorono deodorant, a giant stick of Odorono deodorant. Odorono is also a song that's on the album. Roger Daltrey is sitting in a tub full of Heinz baked beans, and he claims to have caught pneumonia from doing that because the beans were freezing. Now, the back cover has Keith Moon applying Medac, which is a fake acne ointment, and it has Janet Whistle in a Tarzan suit with a woman, and it's supposed to be like an ad for a Charles Atlas course, which is, back then it was like a bodybuilding thing where, you took the course and you got all buff and stuff. So that's what that was supposed to be. And the original vinyl copies included a lock groove, kind of like Sgt. Pepper, which had an instrumental version of an ad that they did for Track Records. If you remember when I talked about Sgt. Pepper, when the album ended, the lock groove is like the space. The groove is the space right after all the songs are over on the side of the album. And usually, if you're playing on a record player, I forgot what it's called with the needles on, the lever thing, we'll get to that area, then it'll lift up and come off. But if it's a lock groove, it'll stay on there. And some bands, being experimental back then, would put something in that groove. So the Beatles did that with this repeated weird chant thing that they did on Sgt. Pepper, and The Who did it with the instrumental Track Records ad, which is pretty cool. So I don't have an original vinyl copy of it, so maybe someday. Okay, I'm going to go through the songs. All of these songs are written by Pete Townsend, except I'll note when it was written by somebody else. Armonia, City in the Sky, was written by Speedy Keen from the band Thunderclap Newman. they did the song Something in the Air. It was they're kind of a one-hit wonder in the 60s. And Pete Townsend actually produced that track. So they're friends with The Who. They wrote this song. It's definitely the most overtly psychedelic song on the album, and probably the most overtly psychedelic song The Who ever did. It's Armenia is a city in Colombia. I don't know if that has anything to do with the song. And it has a lot of references to drugs and mainly LSD, which is funny. I mean, it's funny that Pete Townsend didn't write this, because a lot of people probably think he did, but Pete Townsend has gone down as being not a fan of LSD. He did LSD once, and he was on a plane, and it freaked him out, and he never did it again. And the song starts out kind of like a radio station. It introduces the days of the week. It goes through Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, then the song starts. So it's kind of a little bit of an ad before the song. Okay, number 2, Heinz Baked Beans, was written by John Entwistle. It's an ad for Heinz Baked Beans. That's really what it is. It's really amusing. It's got some horn in there played by Entwistle. I'm assuming he's a multi-instrumentalist. He can play the horns pretty well. And it's just different people asking what's for tea, which I'm assuming in England is like what's for dinner. It's like, what's for tea, Mom? And what's for tea, daughter? And it's a weird song, but I love it. It's just a short little song that's an ad for Heinz Baked Beans. Now, number 3, Marianne with a Shaky Hand, includes an acoustic guitar and Latin percussion. It's described as The Who's second great song about masturbation. The first song being Pictures of Lily. And it's the line from the song is, what they've done to a man, those shaky hands, and I'm sure you can figure out what that's supposed to mean. They actually released 4 versions of this song. I've heard them all. My preferred version is actually, I like this version a lot, but my preferred version is actually the B-side to the I Can See for Miles single, which, if you can find that, it's great. It's my favorite version. It's actually a lot different than this version, but both versions are great. Actually, all 4 versions they've released are really good, but that version is my favorite. Number 4, Odorono. It's a song about an American deodorant called Odorono, which actually existed. It was a commercial and an actual story in its own right. It describes a situation in which there's a woman who is in a bunch of social situations, and it describes how she should have used this deodorant called Odorono, because she smells. And the line from the song, the last line, it says, her deodorant had let her down. She should have used Odorono, which sounds like a commercial. And I guess like they did ads for actual things, and I guess the copyright ads at the time weren't as strict as they are today, but I guess they did get a little bit of trouble for some of this stuff. But obviously the album's still out there. It's unchanged. It's actually been expanded a couple times, so apparently they weren't in too much trouble. Number 5, Tattoo, is the story of 2 teenage boys who decide to get tattoos, and how it's kind of a rite of passage of being a man. The mother didn't like the one kid's tattoo because it had a lady in the nude, but she liked his tattoo, Pete Townsend being the narrator of the song, because it said mother. And it's a really good song. It's one of Pete Townsend's favorites from the early days, at least. And they actually played that song live a lot through into the mid-70s. Okay, number 6 is Our Love Was, the love song. It has a really beautiful melody to it. Great lyrics, and I like the operatic middle section. It's like love, love, love long. It's kind of like a prelude to Tommy. And you'll see a lot of this on here. It's kind of a prelude to Tommy, which was their next album, and which really catapulted them into superstardom. The album before this, A Quick One, had the song A Quick One While He's Away, which was his first attempt as at a rock opera, which is kind of a prelude to Tommy too. But you'll hear lots of stuff on this album where you're like, oh, Tommy. I can see where Tommy came from. Okay, number 7, I Can See for Miles, is the definitely the most famous song from the album. It was the only one from the album released as a single. It was actually The Who's biggest hit in the U.S. It reached number 9 on the U.S. singles chart. And the guitar and drums in the song make it for me. The bass is great too, obviously, but the guitar and drums are kind of like a locomotive. They just keep pounding and pounding and churning. And man, this is just a great song. This is just The Who at their finest, really. This just a great song. What's this? Pete Townsend was not happy with the British buying the people who buy records in Britain, the kids, the record buying public in England. It didn't sell very well didn't sell as well as he thought it should. Pete Townsend thought of this as the ultimate Who single, and he was very disappointed at the sales in England, and he let that be known. The song was also an inspiration for the Beatles' Helter Skelter, which legend has it Paul McCartney heard I Can See for Miles by The Who and was taken aback by how heavy it was, which for 1967 was pretty heavy. And so he wanted to do a song that was heavier, and he did with Helter Skelter, which is also a great song. I can't really tell you which one I like better because they're both amazing. So, moving on. Number 8, I Can't Reach You. It's another beautiful Pete Townsend love song. There's 3 of them on here. They're just really showcase his, because he's not really known for writing love songs, and there's 3 of them on here. What's the other one? Our Love Was, I Can't Reach You, and later on, Sunrise, which are just beautiful freaking love songs, and some of the best lyrics he's ever written. And it's kind of sad that like a lot of the songs on this album people don't even know about, except for I Can See for Miles. But it seems to be about an older man longing for a younger woman. There's the line, your hair is golden, mine is gray. It's, like I said, it's some of the best lyrics Townsend ever wrote. There's one line in the middle, trying to see if I can like quote it from memory. It's like, once I caught a glimpse of your unguarded, untouched heart. Our fingertips touched and then my mind tore us apart. It's just great songwriting, and he is very, very underrated as a songwriter. I've always thought he was. And it's stuff like this that really showcase that. Okay, moving on to number 9, Medact. It's another John Entwistle ad, like Heinz Baked Beans. It's an ad for a fictitious pimple cream called Medact. And they say it says makes your face feel like a baby's bottom. So nice and smooth, I guess. But yeah, it's just another ad by Entwistle. Entwistle was a strange guy. He had a strange sense of humor, and he wrote some weird stuff. But some of my favorite Who songs are John Entwistle songs. So yeah, rest in peace, John Entwistle. Number 10, Relax. It seems to just about relaxing using drugs. And like I said before, although Pete Townsend was never a big drug user, he was more about alcohol. And he definitely had his problems with that. But yeah, so I think he's just writing, like, because, you know, it's the times. It's what people are writing about at the time. And it's a really relaxing song, which is ironic given the title of the song. It's a really beautifully produced song. It might be one of the best produced songs on the album, I think. And there's the middle section, which is just, it's a relaxing song, you know, nice easygoing song. And it gets to the middle, and there's this middle section, it's just pure Who, pure power chords and great heavy drumming, and the middle part's great. It just, the juxtaposition to the rest of the song, it's great. Good song. Number 10, Silas Stingy, another John Entwistle song. This one's not an ad. It's about an old stingy miser who was just cheap and obsessed with money. Said he wouldn't bathe because water costs money, and he's basically like Ebenezer Scrooge from A Christmas Carol. He's just rich, sitting alone by himself with his money and not caring about anything but his money. It's a good song, but to tell you the truth, there's some. I'll get into it more later, but there's been some expanded editions of the album that have come out with a bunch more songs. And there's some Entwistle stuff that I think is better than this that should have been put on the album, but it wasn't. But, you know, obviously I had no say in that. I wasn't even born. Okay, number 12, Sunrise. I mentioned this earlier. It's one of the 3 great love songs he wrote on this album. It's gorgeous. It says, you take away the breath I was keeping for sunrise. You appear in the morning, looks drab in my eyes. It's just great. Although it seems to be about like a love song for, like, you know, like a lover, but he has gone on record and saying that it's about his mother. But Pete Townshend's known for being sarcastic and kind of an ass sometimes to people interviewing him, so he just could be saying that. And there's a section in the song that is very reminiscent of Pinball Wizard. Well, I shouldn't say reminiscent of Pinball Wizard because it came out before Pinball Wizard, but it's kind of, like I said, a prelude to Tommy, a prelude to Pinball Wizard. The guitar in this one part of the song is very similar to Pinball Wizard. You can see where it's coming from. And finally, 13, Rael. This is a really strange song. There's a story to it. And it's something, actually, I kind of wish he had expanded upon more. Like maybe done an album either with The Who or without The Who on his own. It's about, like, based on this story, it's a larger concept he didn't finish. Kind of like Who's Next or Lifehouse. Lifehouse was what Who's Next was supposed to be, and he had this whole concept in this story. It was supposed to be like a double album, and it kind of fell apart, and so they released what they thought were the best songs from that onto a single album. It became, you know, one of the best Who albums, but there's a lot of songs from that have been released that weren't released at the time that are really great that would have fit in with that, and this is kind of like that. It was an abandoned concept he had. It was about a fictitious nation called Rael, and it was being invaded by these people called the Red Shins, and the narrator's dilemma is as to whether to stay in the nation he loves or to leave. And it's just a really, I'd like to know more about what he wanted to do with this concept. It just sounds really interesting to me. And there's music in this that is directly used on Tommy in the song Sparks. So, yeah, that's the last song on the album. This was, like I said, it was re-released like twice, I think, on CD in expanded editions. And if you like this album, you should really seek those out, because there's a lot of, like, different ads that they didn't use for the album, different songs they didn't use for the album. There's some really great songs like Glow Girl, Glittering Girl, 2 girl songs. Early Morning Cold Taxi I like a lot, which is a Roger Daltrey song. Girl's Eyes, which was, I think, a Keith Moon song. And there's another version of Marianne with a Shaky Hand. There's an instrumental of them doing Hall of the Mountain King, which was great. So if you like this album, seek that out, because that makes the album even better, if you can imagine that. So obviously I'm going to give the songs too. I'm going to give this album a 10 out of 10. It's just an amazing album. I love it so much. I can't say it's my favorite Who album. It's this album and Quadrophenia are my favorite Who albums. It really depends on my mood as to which one is my favorite at the time. But really, those are both great albums. I mean, obviously, I love not all their albums, but all their albums through Quadrophenia, I love. Tommy and Who's Next and A Quick One and My Generation and all that stuff. I love all of it, but to me, Sellout and Quadrophenia are the pinnacle of the Who. I mean, I know people mostly would go for Tommy or Who's Next, but which are, like I said, are amazing albums in their own right, but those are the ones I I love. So yeah, that's the Who Sellout. I've been trying to do this one for a while. It's harder for me when it's an album I love as much as I love this one. And I think next time I do review a Who album, I'm going to do Quadrophenia, because I've been mentioning it a lot on this one. So, yeah. So, have a great day, everybody. And listen to this album. Listen to The Who in general. And, I don't know. I'll see you next time. Bye.